Asking good questions is a really important part of developing relationships in both your personal life and your professional life. You may have experienced being in a conversation with someone at one time or another, and they asked you really good questions. They got you to open up, they got you to feel comfortable, and they got you to feel that they were genuinely interested in what you were saying. You might have walked away from this experience wondering, how did that person do it? And how can you be a great conversationalist like them? Well, there are 3 stages to asking really good questions and to help you become a great conversationalist as well. I'm going to share those 3 stages in this video. Watch this video carefully to understand this structure. The best way to start is by asking non-threatening questions. So when you meet someone for the first time, they don't know you, you don't know them. Both of you are likely to be very hesitant and cautious. If you jump in straight away asking them a why question, why don't you like wine? Why did you choose to become an engineer? If you ask this type of question off the bat when you meet someone for the very first time, they're going to close up. You haven't yet established an appropriate level of rapport with that person in the relationship or in the conversation. They're not comfortable opening up to you. They're not comfortable revealing their feelings or their opinions or their deep thoughts with you. It's too soon in the conversation to get people to tell you why they did something, why they believe in something, why they like something or why they don't like something. So don't ask these kinds of questions at the beginning of a conversation when you have just met someone. It is way too soon. What you need to do instead is to ask a closed-ended question. So a question that only requires a yes or no answer. Now, some of you might be watching thinking, well, how can this help that person to elaborate? How can a closed-ended question help that person to tell me more? What a closed-ended question does, and the sole purpose of it, is it gets that person comfortable with you. It gets that person to begin to trust you. Closed-ended questions, yes or no questions, are very easy to answer. They don't require much thought, they're not threatening, and they're not invasive in any way. Imagine if you were at a networking event, you could ask somebody, have you been to this event before? Or did you attend last month's event? These are really easy yes or no questions that other person can answer. It gets them talking, it gets them started talking with you. And then once they have answered that, then you can jump in with additional questions if you want to keep the conversation going. Once you've passed stage 1 in the conversation, then you can begin to ask more inquisitive questions. And these would be questions that begin with what or how. I suggest you use the topic of your closed-ended question to continue the conversation. For example, if you ask them in the first question, have you been to this event before? And they answered no, then you can continue with a follow-up question that asks, well, what do you think of this event? Here's another example. If you asked in the stage 1 question, did you attend last week's meeting? And they answered, yes, I did. Then you can use the follow-up question, what were the main points of last week's meeting? And this can really help you to get that person to elaborate more and to continue talking with you. When you use questions that begin with what or how, like the examples I just shared with you, it really helps that person to elaborate more. It encourages them to elaborate more. It's an open-ended question. You're no longer using closed-ended questions that only require a yes or a no answer. So start with closed-ended questions, continue with open-ended questions. This will definitely help you to open up the conversation, get that person comfortable, get that person trusting you a bit more and feeling comfortable to talk to you more and elaborate on those issues. We've covered 2 out of the 3 tips so far in this video, but if you like what you've learned, then hit the subscribe button below this video. It really helps my channel to grow, and it helps you as well because you get videos every week in your feed on leadership to help you grow in your leadership journey. Once you are in that conversation with that person, you've gone through stage 1 and stage 2, and you are exchanging back and forth with the other person, then you can move to stage 3. This really helps you to keep the conversation going, and how you can do this is by asking reinforcing questions. Reinforcing questions, for example, so you just mentioned such and such. Tell me more about that. It seems that you're saying XYZ. How does that make you feel? What I hear is that such and such. What do you think the next best step is? We'll look at some more examples in a moment, but what these 3 examples do, or what reinforcing questions do, is it helps you to get that person to open up, to elaborate, to tell you more about their feelings, their thoughts, and their opinions. It's these things that will keep the conversation going. It's these kinds of questions that will allow you to get enough trust with that person, so they allow you to go deeper with your questions and you can have a deeper conversation overall. And they will trust you more. They will begin to allow you to go deeper into the conversation because you have, number 1, asked non-threatening questions, and number 2, asked inquisitive questions. In real life conversations, this could look like, so you just mentioned that you've changed careers. You used to be an accountant, now you run your own business. Tell me more about that. What I hear is that in last week's meeting, there was some disagreement as to whether the company should begin a social media strategy. What do you think they should do? And of course, good listening skills will help you to get that person comfortable talking with you, to show that you are genuinely interested in what they're saying, so they will open up and elaborate more and talk to you more. Now, if you want some tips on good listening skills, active listening skills in conversations, then you need to watch this video right here.